There is a new generation of young entrepreneurial creators who are taking over YouTube with one mission in mind: empire building.
You've grown a channel from, I think you said, around about 6,000 to 8,000 subscribers to more than 200,000 subscribers in less than a year.
Almost all of our videos on that channel go against every single rule on YouTube.
Lyndon is rewriting the rulebook of do's and don'ts on YouTube.
And you can't ignore 10% if you want to be a top 1% YouTuber.
So we decided to sit down with Lyndon and learn the tricks of his trade, from conquering a niche.
Not every video needs to have a gigantic total addressable market. We like to go with like a 50-50.
To packaging hacks to perfect your thumbnails and titles.
There's a thing that I like to talk about called title balancing.
To the untold secrets of getting more views no matter your channel size.
This is the biggest thing that any YouTuber needs to change if they want to grow.
Let's start building your YouTube empire.
You've grown a channel from, I think you said, around about 6,000 to 8,000 subscribers to more than 200,000 subscribers in less than a year. Is there like a specific instance where you think your expertise has significantly helped that channel?
One thing that we changed, and I think this is the biggest thing that any YouTuber needs to change if they want to grow, is title, thumbnail, and idea are the biggest levers on YouTube. Almost all of our videos on that channel go against every single rule on YouTube. They're essentially just those Zoom calls, and they get hundreds of thousands of views. But the reason why they get hundreds of thousands of views is because we have a crazy eye-catching thumbnail, we have an amazing title, and what we actually do is we do 2 thumbnails for every video. We A/B test those against each other, just like many creators. Something that not a lot of creators do that I think is very paramount for them to grow is having a ton of title variations. So for every single video we work on for Joel, we come up with over 50 title variations, and most people come up with around 5. If you come up with 50, generally I find that my best titles are in the last 10. It takes me about 30 minutes to an hour to come up with those, and a lot of it is small variations, of course. And then also the idea, just trying to increase the total addressable market of the idea.
Lyndon, the TLDR version. He started out on YouTube following one simple piece of advice: if I make one video a week, my life will be in a better place in 2 years' time. He mastered topics and combined them with good video ideas, such as challenging himself to dropship for 30 days. He built up his channel to a point where he was earning thousands of dollars a month, traveling the world, and got noticed by an industry leader in the SMMA space. They collabed, rapidly built a YouTube channel, and that's just one of Lyndon's clients. And that brings us to Lyndon's new personal project, the Amplify Views channel, focusing on free YouTube education. He managed to monetize that channel after uploading just 6 videos in 60 days. And yeah, as you can tell from his youthful looks, he hasn't got that many miles on the clock either. Unlike myself, who's feeling more and more like a YouTube dinosaur every day. Anyway, back to Lyndon and these titles. What does the process of finding a good title look like? And how do you know when you've nailed one? 3 simple strategies.
We talk about like the 80-20 of YouTube is title, thumbnail, and idea. And title is probably like 10% of that 80. And you can't ignore 10% if you want to be a top 1% YouTuber. We sit down 3 times a week. We spend an hour on each call coming up with just as many ideas as we can. And we pull from different sources like the New York Times, YouTube. We pull from a lot of places.
When hunting for new inspirations, don't just limit yourself to your own niche. Peek into other worlds, whether it be YouTube shorts, books, that go-to video game, a blockbuster movie. Inspiration often comes when you least expect it, but at the same time, often from other creative sources. But you do have to keep this quality in mind.
So if you look at Amplify Views, it's like, YouTube is a video game. Here's how you win. Okay, how do I win? And like, YouTube is a video game, that means I can beat it. Those are like the thoughts that come out to me when I think about how that title targets a viewer. And those are the things that will make people click. It's like, if I just said, grow on YouTube by making better thumbnails, it's like the question is already answered. How we like to think about titles is we like to do some sort of curiosity.
Now, this was certainly a lesson we learned the hard way. A couple of years back, search traffic views on the vidIQ channel took a nosedive post-lockdown. And it got us thinking, packaging really matters. So we tweaked our titles from functional search-based ones, such as how to get more views by writing good titles, to more evocative ones that appeal to the basic desires of the average YouTube creator. Small channels do this to get more views in 5 minutes. It still delivered the same content, giving the viewer what they need, writing better titles, but the packaging gave the viewer what they want, what they desire, what they crave. That's when vidIQ really started to plug into browse views, and it resurrected the channel. But it's not just about the words you use in your titles. It's how they look.
There's a thing that I like to talk about called title balancing, where capital letters are like weights for your title. So if you think of like a scale, you don't want too many capital letters on one side of the title or else it's going to be unbalanced. That one's perfectly balanced. SMMA is capitalized and then free course is capitalized. So it's pretty much balanced. 95% of people have no money. You need to target that audience. And that's what we did. And it's how to start SMMA with $0 that targets that entire audience. And then as like a parentheses, free course on that. That is a promise of insane value.
Lyndon talks about coming up with at least 50 titles for each video, but whew, you can see what kind of challenges that presents.
So we each select our top 3. We narrow those top 3 down and then figure out which order we want to launch the video in. The CTR is below 10%. We instantly change it in the first like couple hours. Then after 24 hours, we kind of like just leave it and see how it does. But we try to optimize that CTR as much as we can. And after 7 days, if it's below 5%, we always A/B test it. But if it's above 5%, we usually leave it.
Click-through rate. This seemingly magical metric that's completely different for everyone. For a specific channel that Lyndon is working with, he's looking at a benchmark number of 10%. But for you, it could be very different. Sometimes a higher CTR, but more often than not, a lower number. What you need to do is follow these metrics and start to work out an average click-through rate for your videos. But obviously, when we start talking about click-through rates and A/B testing, we can't ignore thumbnails. And Lyndon pretty much agrees with everybody else on YouTube.
I think thumbnail is more important for sure.
What are some of the key elements to consider when designing a thumbnail for YouTube?
I mean, obviously you want to have good colors. I think that having complementary colors is very strong, having a tertiary color in there. If you look at Mr. Beast's thumbnails, like on the raft in the middle of the ocean, the raft is kind of like an orange color, right? And then that orange color contrasts with the blue water. It's very eye-catching because the colors contrast. Other than that, there's a lot of, psychology tricks you can do, like the transformational thumbnails. I really like those where you cut it down the middle. You have like one thing on one side, another thing on the other side. I think that that's a very strong thumbnail concept. And I think there's still a lot of opportunity to innovate on that. Other than that, it just comes down to like looking at what's working in comparable niches. So what I like to do for Joel's channel, where it's SMMA, social media marketing, we look at other business niches. We look at drop shipping and we take from those other comparable niches and then we use those concepts in our own niche, which is actually a little bit behind.
And speaking of niches, how are they conquered? I believe shorts are about to be fired.
I do 100% believe that every niche sucks. I think every single niche on YouTube is extremely difficult and it takes a lot of effort to win in. There are easier niches than others, like niches that have a lot of search volume but have less competition. If you hopped on AI like 6 months ago, it was much easier to grow than it is now. Eventually, every single creator will become challenged with their niche as time goes on. Instead of trying to switch niches, I think you should just go into a niche that you can see yourself working in for the next 5 years and making consistent content. And if you do that, you're much more likely to succeed. Because 90% of people, when they go into a niche, they'll become discouraged and they won't continue making content.
What's your strategy for coming up with engaging video ideas that resonate with your target audience? And you used the word earlier on, total addressable market.
Having a gigantic potential for your videos is how you get more views. The easiest way to get more views is essentially just open up your market on a broader spectrum, because the more people that can watch your video means the more people that will watch your video. That's one thing we keep in mind when coming up with ideas. Not every video needs to have a gigantic total addressable market. We like to go with like a 50-50. 50% of it is more niche content to kind of like nurture the audience, but 50% of it is more like broad content that can kind of target everyone. For example, on Amplify Views, the only YouTube guide you'll ever need, that video was a nurturing video. So that video was not meant to target a ton of people. Obviously the views reflected that, right? It's the lowest video on our channel, but it's also the most valuable, I think. The videos that we make to go viral, which have been like the last 4 that have gotten over 10,000 views, if you look at the description, you'll notice that every single one of them has no other links than the link to that video. We essentially want to direct that audience back to a nurturing video. It also helps turn them from a viewer into a subscriber if they receive a ton of free value from you.
But obviously this presents a challenge. The bigger the total addressable market, the more popular the topic is to creators, and hence more competition. What's Lyndon's key to standing out in a competitive market?
I've looked at my competitive advantage, which I think is script writing. I look at my competitive advantage as also just YouTube information. I think I have a lot of stuff that people haven't heard before. Then I hire out those other positions to people who have those competitive advantages. So I'm a good editor. I feel like I'm decent at editing. I can make a good video, but I can't do those crazy animations. That's just not my skill set. I basically just focus on bringing on the best people that I can find and investing heavily into those areas where I lack.
We learned learned here that Lyndon's YouTube superpower is script writing. So I wanted to drill down into that a little bit. I had to ask him what he must include in the video hook, but also in the video outro.
This is something that I haven't heard a lot of people talk about. If you noticed in a lot of my videos, in the first 30 seconds, there will be all the results that I've gotten, all the videos that have blown up for me and my clients, people I've worked with, and then also me holding up a client's silver play button, stuff like that, where it's like, this guy knows what he's talking about. This guy has done stuff before. And I think that that is one of the most important editing tricks. In the first line of the video, establish some sort of credibility. I had a call with Iman Gaji's creative director, and I think that they're some of the people who are crushing it right now, right? They've gained over 1 million subscribers in the last year, and they're just doing phenomenal. One thing that I learned from them is essentially where you take the only link that you have in your video should direct back to another YouTube video. Because at the end of the day, YouTube is a profit-driven company, right? So if they see that your video is taking people off the platform, they see that you're posting a bunch of affiliate links in the description, or you're posting to like your website, you're taking people off the platform. And I think this is one of the reasons why our channel, Amplify Views, has done so well, because every single video that we make, if anybody sees the description, they're not prompted to like go to our website. They're not prompted to book a call with us. They're prompted to just watch another one of our videos. So every single video drives back to another video, which will have more watch time for YouTube. They can show more ads, and it's essentially a win-win.
Which is exactly what we're going to do right now by telling you to go watch this video where a garden enthusiast turned their hobby into a 2.7 million subscriber YouTube empire.